Welcome to Wealth Hustle 247 podcast, your trusted guide to financial literacy, business innovation, and entrepreneurial success. Learn how to grow your wealth, make informed decisions, and turn your ideas into profitable ventures.
What if your money paid you every single month? In this video, discover the Asset Empire's 6-step dividend strategy, a simple blueprint to build passive income, grow wealth, and make your money work harder than you do. Start building your cash flow empire today.
What if everything you've been taught about saving money is actually just a guaranteed mathematical formula for going broke?
I mean, it's a massive shock to the system, right? Most financial advice reads like a stereo instruction manual.
Yeah, totally dry.
Exactly. Just, put 10% in an index fund and wait 40 years. But this text, it reads like a battle cry.
It really does. Today's source material actually labels traditional savers as losers and church mice who are blindly following the rules of quote-unquote fake teachers.
Yeah, you go from reading about basic compound interest to just being hit over the head with this aggressive hustle culture rhetoric.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today we are exploring a highly opinionated, honestly incredibly provocative excerpt from a wealth-building community that calls itself Asset Empire.
And our mission for this deep dive is to extract the core financial mechanics from this text. Because underneath all that bravado, there actually is a very specific 6-step guide to dividend investing.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because regardless of how intense the tone is, we really need to look at the actionable framework hiding under those bold claims.
Right. Separating the emotional hook from the mechanics is, it's the real challenge here.
Before this source even teaches you how to invest, it spends a ton of energy establishing why everything you already know is supposedly wrong. And that brings us to the first big shift, redefining the language of money.
Yeah, they declare that saving money is basically a guaranteed way to lose wealth. And their justification is anchored in this very specific macroeconomic claim.
The fake money thing.
Exactly. The author states that the government is currently printing $1 trillion in fake money every 90 days.
Right.
And they argue that this relentless expansion of the money supply systematically destroys your purchasing power.
And just as a quick caveat for you listening, our goal today is not to debate the political or economic validity of whether the government is actually printing fake money at that specific rate.
No, not at all.
We're just impartially looking at how this author uses that explosive claim to justify their extreme investing strategy. They're using the specter of currency devaluation to light a fire under the reader.
It creates absolute urgency. I mean, if your cash is losing value at the rate they suggest, then sitting on a pile of uninvested cash makes you a sitting duck.
So the solution, according to them, is what the quote-unquote future elite do. They move their thought engine entirely into acquiring assets.
But we have to look closely at how they define an asset because it totally breaks from traditional financial planning.
Yeah, it does.
To this community, an asset is strictly something that puts money in your pocket on a recurring basis. A liability takes money out.
It's like planting an apple tree, right? Traditional capital gains investing is basically planting the tree and just hoping someone buys the whole tree for more money a decade from now.
Right, exactly.
But dividend investing is just eating the apples every single month while keeping the tree.
Oh.
But why does the author insist that traditional capital gain stocks aren't true assets?
What's fascinating here is their obsession with cash flow over speculation. It's the beating heart of their philosophy. They want you to stop being a spectator.
A spectator.
Yeah, like when you buy a growth stock hoping the price goes up, you're just spectating. You're sitting in the stands hoping broader market forces do something favorable.
Ah, I see.
But when you buy a dividend stock, you become a producer. The company is handing you actual realized profits every quarter. You get paid whether you get out of bed or not.
That distinction really changes everything about how you measure success, which begs the question, if we accept this strict definition that an asset must literally hand you cash, how does that alter your everyday spending?
That moves us right into the second part of their framework, the mindset shift.
Right, where the theory hits your actual wallet. The source demands that you permanently eliminate the phrase, "I can't afford it," from your vocabulary.
Completely gone.
And instead, you have to ask, how can I afford it?
Behavioral economists actually love that pivot because, I can't afford it is a declarative statement. It just closes the brain down and the conversation is over.
Yeah, you just give up.
But how can I afford it is an open-ended question. It forces your brain to operate as a problem-solving machine.
The specific solution the source offers is I mean, it's fascinating, if a bit extreme. Instead of looking at your paycheck and wondering how to squeeze out a car payment, you're supposed to buy enough dividend-paying assets so that the cash flow from those assets pays for the car.
You move your brain out of the income column and into the asset column.
Exactly. Your W-2 paycheck buys the asset, and the asset buys the car.
It creates this massive buffer between your labor and your consumption.
But I have to push back on the practicality of this for the everyday person. I mean, this sounds amazing in theory, but doesn't it require a massive amount of upfront capital?
Oh, absolutely.
To buy enough dividend stock to generate, say, $500 a month for a car payment, you need a huge portfolio. Assuming like a 4% yield, you need 150 grand invested just to pay for a Honda Civic.
Yeah, it's a lot. But that daunting math is actually the author's secret weapon.
Like, really? How so?
Well, they present this as a neat, clean trick, right? Making it sound almost like a quick flip. But the underlying mechanism forces a massive delay in gratification.
Oh, I see.
If you want a new car and you rigidly commit to this rule that only your dividends can pay for it, you might have to wait 5 or 7 years while you build up that asset column.
So it acts as an automatic circuit breaker against impulse purchases.
Precisely. It shifts you entirely from a consumer mindset into an investor mindset. You're no longer trading hours for toys, you're trading hours for cash flowing systems.
And those systems eventually fund your lifestyle.
Right.
But wait, if the goal is to generate cash flow, why rely on the stock market at all? Like, why not just start a side hustle, drive an Uber, or start a consulting business?
Well, the author argues it all comes down to the math of the tax code. Which brings us to step 3, understanding the 3 types of income.
Right. The source categorizes all income into 3 buckets: earned, portfolio, and passive.
And they argue that the traditional education system run by those fake teachers they hate so much only prepares you for earned income.
Which is your standard W-2 salary. And they have zero love for earned income because it's the most heavily penalized by the IRS.
Oh, it gets crushed.
The source claims it's taxed at rates up to 40% or even 60% if you factor in self-employment taxes.
Yep. Working for earned income is exactly like carrying water in a bucket with huge holes in it.
Yeah.
The government drains half of it before you even reach your destination.
Oh, I love that analogy. While passive income is like a solid steel bucket. But what is the exact distinction they're drawing between portfolio and passive income?
Good question. So portfolio income usually refers to paper assets where you're flipping for capital gains, buying stock at 50 and selling at 100.
And they dislike that because it relies on market timing.
Exactly. Passive income is the holy grail for them. It's income generated from assets you own but don't actively work for, like qualified dividends.
Right.
And the key is that passive income flows directly to you and is taxed at much lower rates, sometimes even 0% for professional investors.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, wealth generation isn't just about the top line. It's entirely about what you legally keep.
Absolutely. The mandate of the Asset Empire strategy is to align yourself with government tax incentives. Keep money flowing from the company to you, not from your pocket to the government.
Right. But passive income from the stock market can't be flawless. What's the catch?
The source actually acknowledges the pros and cons in steps 4 and 5. They evaluate the trade-offs between liquidity and control.
Yeah, they draw a really sharp contrast between dividend stocks and physical real estate. Stocks and ETFs have this major structural advantage: extreme liquidity.
Meaning you can hit a button on your phone and just liquidate your entire portfolio in seconds.
Right. If you make a mistake, you aren't trapped. You definitely can't sell an apartment building in 5 seconds.
No, you can't. But that liquidity comes at a severe cost. When you buy shares in a publicly traded company, you are an absolute outsider.
You have zero operational control.
Exactly. You can't just walk into the boardroom and fire the CEO if the company starts losing money.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because with dividend stocks, you have the ultimate escape hatch with that liquidity, but you're completely locked out of the cockpit.
Yeah, you're just a passenger on the plane.
So how does the source expect an everyday person to evaluate these companies and know if the plane's going to crash?
Because you lack control, your only defense is what the source calls your financial IQ. You have to treat the stock exactly like a commercial banker treats a real estate loan.
They use the term net operating income, or NOI, right?
Yes, which is traditionally a real estate metric.
Right. It's the revenue from a property minus operating expenses.
Yeah.
So how does the author translate that to a publicly traded corporation?
They're essentially telling you to look at a company's free cash flow and their dividend payout ratio. Free cash flow is the corporate equivalent of NOI.
Oh, okay.
It's the cash left over after paying all operating expenses. If a company generates $1 billion in free cash flow and pays out $500 million in dividends, they have a payout ratio of 50%.
This gives them a healthy margin of safety.
Exactly. The source explicitly calls the financial statement your real report card. You have to be rigorous about analyzing it before you buy a ticket for that flight.
So if a company's paying out like 95% of its free cash flow just to maintain the dividend, that's a massive red
A
flag.
huge red flag. One bad quarter and the whole system collapses.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. You've mastered the vocabulary, shifted your mindset to delayed gratification, you're focusing on passive income, and analyzing free cash flow.
You're doing it all.
Once you've actually built this liquid cash flowing portfolio, how do you protect it and scale it?
That brings us to the final step, assembling your asset empire team. The author makes it very clear that you cannot reach the highest echelons of wealth as a quote-unquote solopreneur.
Right. The tax code is too complex. You need CPAs and attorneys. They specifically mention needing protection from the litigation lottery.
Which is such a highly evocative phrase for getting sued.
It really is. They also mandate finding mentors with tons of experience to help you fail forward and avoid traps set by fake teachers. It basically sounds like you're building a fortress with a legal moat.
Yes, a totally defensive posture. But then right at the very end of this excerpt, the tone takes a wild pivot.
It really does. We go from talking about CPAs, legal moats, and avoiding the litigation lottery to suddenly discussing mindfulness.
Yeah, the framing shifts completely.
The author claims their community provides the daily mindfulness that the school system refuses to give you. And then there's this intense call to action.
Right, they ask the reader to leave a comment saying the exact words, "I will be rich."
Yeah, to stay accountable to their legacy. It's this interesting mix of hard legal defense and almost like manifestation-style mindset.
This raises an important question about the ecosystem of modern financial advice. The source isn't just teaching finance, they are selling an identity.
The future billionaire identity.
Exactly. By asking the audience to publicly declare "I will be rich," they're blending technical tax strategy with a highly emotional, community-driven identity.
It establishes a very clear in-group and out-group.
Right. If you're on the outside, you're a church mouse with screws loose. If you're on the inside, you're part of the future elite. It's a brilliant way to ensure people actually integrate into the community.
And just to pull you slightly deeper into that ecosystem, they offer a tailored report comparing the tax benefits of dividends versus real estate.
The math validates the emotion, and the emotion fuels the discipline required to execute the math.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a massive amount of ground today. We started with the author redefining an asset strictly as cash flow, using dividends to fund liabilities.
Right, forcing that delay in gratification.
We broke down avoiding the high taxes of earned income, balancing liquidity with zero control, and building a defensive team of experts.
It is a remarkably comprehensive framework, even if the delivery mechanism is highly combative.
So what does this all mean for you? Look, the rhetoric of future billionaires and fake teachers is undeniably intense. But if you strip away the battle cry, the underlying mechanics are highly practical tools for anyone.
Yeah, prioritizing cash flow and understanding your financial statement works for everyone. But I think there's one final thought to mull over here.
What's that?
The source promises to provide mindfulness right alongside aggressive wealth accumulation strategies. And it leaves me wondering, how do those two concepts actually coexist?
Oh, that's a great point.
I mean, true mindfulness is usually about being present and content, yet this entire strategy is built on intense, forward-looking anxiety, the fear that your purchasing power is being destroyed every 90 days.
Yeah, the relentless drive to acquire an empire.
Right. Can you truly be mindful while constantly vibrating with the urgency of avoiding becoming a loser in the system? It's a tension worth exploring in your own financial journey.
It really is. It makes you wonder if that battle cry we heard at the beginning is meant to wake you up or just keep you awake at night. Until next time, keep diving deep.
That's it for today's episode of Wealth Hustle 247. Be sure to follow, like, comment, and share with others. Keep pushing toward your goals, and we'll see you in the next episode.